complicated. That's a lot of overhead in terms of design, security.
Yeah, I don't. It's the same thing that at the end of the day, we've got that data would be, if the data is from a security standpoint, the data would be publicly available directly in the browser from.
So that's not which is the security part. It's the fact that we're setting up a service which can be subject to malicious attacks and give people a foothold into the platform.
Yeah, but so this is a strategic thing that needs probably someone from a security element, an infosec element opinion on it. It's not. If we look at car, I'm just going to use car here as the biggest product. I don't know what the permutation set for car is, but let's just say from what I heard, what I gathered from a conversation from Nicoletta quite a while ago, was potentially each type of product, so comprehensive, third party fire and theft, and every single postcode sector within the UK. So if you think we'd have to hold every single postcode and potentially within that, every single brand that is on the panel for every postcode sector, you're talking about millions of permutations there. And just frankly, the tag management system is not the place to be storing large amounts of reference data like that. It's a tag management system, not a CMS.
And then on the other side, so this data is going to CM360, right? So when the floodlight is triggered, it gets sent through to Campaign Manager. Yeah. Is it not something we can add into Campaign Manager?
No, because every single request will contain a different set of data. So when we send the floodlight through, we send through, it's got a category, a type, a counting method, etc. Then we also pass through things like the mask code, the make, if you use car, the make and model of the vehicle, page names, other, the fact that they were looking to buy comprehensive insurance, etc., etc. And just one element of that is the value of this. So it has to be included with the rest of the online data that we send, with the match ID, etc., etc. So it has to be a case of, for every single request, when we send the floodlight data, it has to be included there. It can't be looked up afterwards because it needs the signal, the real-time signal.
What is it that we're using to look up? So when in Telium, we would be sending the API request to our endpoint to get the data.
Yeah.
What are we using to look it up as like a key?
It'll be the same that we've done for propensity with just a different data set.
Okay, but what are the actual keys?
I have no idea.
Use VAN as an example.
I don't.
Abdul, the keys are provider and card type. Is that right?
Yeah, I was gonna. You think it's just to put context? I'll just show exactly what the tables look like for credit card loans, just so you guys can have a better idea. But yeah, it is essentially that. So, can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for cards, this is what you're looking at. So you're looking at brand and product type, and this will be the value that we're looking to send. So these are the permutations, and for loans, it's just the brand. It's not even, there's no product attached to it. So that's what we're doing.
I won't lie to you guys, I'm actually getting a bit worried about kind of deadlines and timelines for this. Adam, can we put this into Telium as a tactical solution while we sort out while we build a strategic one?
We can in theory, but what we're looking at there, we're looking at 743, so that's what? Let's just call it 40.
Yeah.
You've got 40 brands there for each type of card. So, and I'm assuming that if you take credit cards.
Loans is just at a brand level.
Sorry, loans is just these 40 entries total, like unique. And for cards, you'll have unique around 47, I think, because
Well, no. So again, this is so. If you go back to cards quickly, so if you take 118 money credit building, my assumption, based on experience from other things, is going to be 118 money, for example. You know, the credit transfer. You know, it's credit building there. I think we hold it as credit transfer in the data layer. There'll be one score for 118 money credit building. There'll be another score for 118 money cashback and rewards, and another one for 118 money 0% balance transfer. So you've got to nth out these between, you know, every provider times the amount of cards is the amount of permutations we have. You know, again.
Well, no, because not every provider does every card type. We only actually want to store the card types that each provider is providing.
Yeah, again, well, okay. So it's however many permutation sets there are. I don't know how many permutation sets there are.
I think you've got them. Have you got them all in this table, Abdul? Is this all the permutations?
So there's an additional step where there's a mapping that's applied. So you might see these kind of values, but then that's mapped to a category. So just to filter it down to exactly what we're thinking about. But yeah, if you think about permutations, then they're, in terms of exact values, then these are all of them. So for example, for 118 money, you'll have these three. But let's say I'll just put it into one category, just offline mapping. So
yeah, I think we also need to look at what data, because I think I'm literally trying to scrabble around getting into GA right at the second. So is this full credit cards? Yeah.
Yeah.
Credit cards, V3. So this is and bringing something up on my screen. Bear with me. No. Share my screen here. So this is, so if I actually take the event name out and continue profile. So this is just looking at credit cards V3 in GA4 for click-through events. And these are all the brand names that we have, yeah? So things like your 118 money card B, we don't have that, we just know it's 118 money, for example. And then if I add in product detail, confirm. I'll just sort by, so 118 money, you know, okay, it is credit building. We just get credit building, so American Express, we're getting these three, you know, Barclaycard, we get all those. So we would have, again, we can build it out, you know, we can build the object, but you're looking at, you know, there's 90 sets, based on yesterday's data, there are 97 permutations there at click-through level for just a brand name and product detail.
Yeah, would it be worth just giving me all these permutations so I can see what value would fit in for later? Because I think I have less, right?
So. Could you explain how the number affects the complexity of the work required? That's the part that I'm not really following.
So it's not that it changes the complexity as such. It just expands the volume. And, you know, remember, we can't run any pipelines over this because it's tedium. You know, it's tag management system. We just have to hold this data in an object. So, you know, if I
So a data file, like a JSON file of 100 records and 3 fields, is going to be tiny. Like kilobytes, won't it?
Yeah, but I have to make. Yes, in theory, it's small, but when you add this to everything else, to when you add credit cards and you add loans, okay, these may be small amounts of permutations, but pet was bigger, landlord was a lot bigger again. That's hundreds of thousands from what I was told. If you go to
talking about a tax solution for a couple of products, right?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Is that I think there is a lot of work, honestly, for Doug, to kind of define a strategic solution. Can we get credit cards and loans in Telium in the short term so that it's live and the business is happy, and we've got a bit of breathing space to work this through all properly?
Yeah, obviously we'll have to factor it into everything else we've got. Where does this sit in terms of a priority basis?
It is P1.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Yeah. We've got loads of A's. We've got loads of A's. We've still got to finish our GitLab migration. I don't know what the deadline on this is.
But the GitLab migration should have been finished 2 quarters ago?
No, because Telium never had the capability to integrate with GitLab, so we were always on GitHub still.
Okay, fair. Right, I'm going to get the ticket.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, fair. Right, I'll get some ticket raised on your backlog, and I'll have a chat with, and I'll see about getting it prioritised.
Yeah, if we can get, the permutations guy, I put that spreadsheet in the chat, by the way.
Thanks. Abdul, are you finished? Can you check and do the weightings? When can you get those finished?
The weightings are ready. So the snapshot I showed you, this is using, let's say, past 6 months data to come up with the weightings, and I think we've agreed to kick this in, and in the background we'll figure out whatever else. But this is, we're happy with this.
Okay, cool. So Vadim, I'll just get a couple of tickets raised on the backlog.
Yeah, okay. This second spreadsheet. Actually, hang on. Bench file. Hang on. Bear with callers. Yes, you got that. What we'll also need, Heather, is we'll need PPC to speak to IMD, because we'll need 2 new floodlight tags setting up. Because obviously for lead scoring, we create brand new tags for these, so they'll have to do that. And we'll need the tag details. We can do the work to add in the scores into the objects, into our configs in advance. We've just got to.
Is there any? Sorry for using a horribly businessy word. Is there any synergy between the tasks that we need to do for this solution and the more long term? I'm just saying, is there a way that we can approach this which sets us up for that strategic solution as well?
Like the floodlights and the mask codes would be the same. I'm not sure about anything else.
Yeah, so the floodlights, everything, that's an ad hoc, a per item basis, because PPC will have to ask OMD, they'll have to create a new one for this in CM360. We'll have to add that into Telium. The long-term solution for, real-time, for real-time lead scoring and propensity scoring would be to obviously if in theory have one common endpoint that we could just send a data package to that contains, and in that data package obviously will give you the identifiers of, this is broadband, it's for lead scoring, and then the other data components, and you can route it internally within the API and return the results, and then like van propensity, send exactly what we do now, but just with the 2 extra data points of van and propensity scoring, so you can route that to the model, and again return back a score. We'll say thank you very much, set it in the data layer, init tag.
And on these bits like the floodlights and stuff, is it worth getting those into OMD's backlog soon? So they can do them in advance?
Yeah, we'll do it now. Yeah, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, that's stuff that's sort of outside of Measurement Solutions, because we don't handle the relationship with OMD, so we leave it for, well, it used to be Nicoletto, so I don't know, is it Jamie picking it up now, Heather?
No, Jamie's actually left the business.
Is she? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm just pinging Eve a message now.
Okay. And then on the bit you said about the endpoints, Adam, so as an FYI, it will definitely be different endpoints for models, because for each model service, we're having the model loaded into memory, and having multiple models loaded into the application memory is going to just be very inefficient. I think the long-term strategic solution for serving this flat data, though, that can be a single endpoint, because it will just be looking at files from S3 or so and so. What I could do with from you is just a short write-up of why we can't use Telium. So I'm going to have to create a KDD, and it basically needs to be one of the options that we've evaluated. So if you could put that into kind of simple language, what are the limitations, why it's not being chosen as a solution, send that over to me. I can include that in the KDD, and also that will help me a lot in my conversations with like James Bailey and people, because as soon as I start talking to David Morland about this, he's like, why are we using a publicly available endpoint, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can try to do that as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Doug.
One
question.
Sorry, you want to go first, Doug?
No, I was saying, do you have a question after we ended up?
Yeah.
Sorry.
One thing I was just looking at, the list that you sent, Adam. So, for example, it's got just for capital 1. Yeah, so in brand, let's say you have 15 similar brand names like capital 1, classic, balance chart, all of that. Do you expect me to, so for example, the table I have, it's much more sort of succinct. Is it worth me giving you the scores in the exact format that you've given? For example, I can use the same scores for some of the brands that are
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's where we get like Capital One Classic Complete Card and Balance Transfer Card, etc. So the way it works is when the customer does the click through, the product teams set the brand name in the data layer for us based on the results that's clicked through from. So we just they just give us directly whatever value they have. So we wouldn't really want to be
changing that,
doing any translating on that, because we don't know what values may come up. You could get a new card tomorrow, or a card could go change names tomorrow. So we don't want to be doing any of that internally. We just do a direct mapping.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll and the list you've given is comprehensive, or can there be more additions on it based on the data you've extracted?
Well, that was only the 1st of May. Let me. Oh, go away.
I think if you just have a week's worth of unique entries, we can sort of be there.
Yeah, I'll do. I'll select the last 14 days in GA because it's a preset option. Let's see, we want brand name and product detail.
That's fine. You can send it to me. Heather, for you, I can fill these scores. However, I'm conscious that these are, again, between 0 and 2, these scores. Is that okay for us for now, or do we want to upweight?
Yeah, that's fine, because that's all we sent through for mobile. Is that kind of score range? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was some form. I think there was some form of multiplier applied by PPC. So if I take,
What's that? Okay.
Hang on. So let me just bring it up. Mobile phones. Share. So if I go into mobile phones, the data that we hold. So the default score we're using is 8.4. So if we get a click through for a permutation that we don't hold, we use a default score. So then for like contract, so if it's a contract phone for car warehouse, we have a value of 7.3.
Oh, are they applying a multiplier of 10?
Of 10, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if the multiplier has changed from product to product, but I think there was a multiplier of some form applied. Yeah.
No, because mobile also has this range of 0 to 2, so yeah, it's probably 10.
Yeah. I think let's go with 10.
Okay.
Yeah. I think someone from PPC will be able to confirm, but yeah.
So
we just take the data we're provided and pass it through, basically.
So I'll take this Heather action item on me is item. You can send it on email or whatever. Just this list, and I'll populate the scores and send it back to you, and just multiply them.
I'm literally just downloading the credit cards one now.
Yeah, it's fine. Cool.
It's in.
Thanks, Adam. So I know we're at time, and you've probably all got other meetings to go to. But thanks. This was really helpful. I do really appreciate this, Adam. Like I know that it's not ideal, but it is really helpful. So thank you.
I'm just.
And Doug, should we have a regroup around the kind of what this strategic solution would be in another week? Is that long enough?
Yeah, a week should be fine. I'm going to be focusing on this as a priority. So it's one of those things we need to get the ball rolling on ADD and getting peer review and stuff like that. I think I'm expecting people to ask, have we been to Telium as well? So I think we might need to set up a call with Telium.
There's no point saying you've gone up with Telium because
we have been to Telium. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we kicked off real-time lead scoring, we did get them in the. We did have a number of meetings with them about how to do this.
Yeah, their response was to use their AI product called Predict, but obviously for real-time lead scoring and it being static data, that doesn't even flies even less than using it for the other modelling stuff.
Yeah, and they charged us £12,000 for the privilege, Doug. So, yeah.
The conversation.
Was that how much they charged us for the conversation on that?
I've literally just got the invoice through. Yes, they did.
Okay.
So we did. I'm not keen to talk to them again.
Alright. Well, you and Adam can split that 12k, seeing as we're not talking to them the second time. I think just invoice it through.
Send it straight through to Doug. Yeah.
Yeah, we can split it between the four of us. I'll be happy with that. Cool. Okay, that's fair because I think that's going to be another thing. It's going to be the same questions that we had with VAT, like why can Telium not use authentication to connect to the API, that sort of stuff. So if you could make a note, Adam, as well, if you could add like a little bit about.
Simple answer for that is we can. In theory, we could include it in the request, but the problem is If it's static data, we would have to hold it in GitLab and then publish it to the page so that the client browser can then pick it up. So then you've got credentials exposed to the page, which is obviously a security risk.
Yeah, so basically it's not an option, is it? Because the credentials would be in the client-side code.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could maybe add something to that bit that I requested about the authentication and what Telium have suggested as their solution, why that doesn't work, that would really help our use case.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, once you get done, if you drop us a link to the KDB, I can always contribute to it.
Yeah, that would be great. And if I could maybe request that you come to the presentation when we do it as well. Hopefully there won't be too many questions at that point, but still have the SME on Telium.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
I'll see you then.
All right, cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Heather, I'll send you over a little summary of next steps as well.
That would be awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
See you. Bye.
thought the lads handled it really well. I think in Europe this year we've been really good at sort of managing whatever situation we've been in, and we've had some games where we lost away from home, but we had to come back and we showed real calm composure to win and get through here. So I think all those experiences give me the belief that we can go there and get the job done.
Big Ange there. They will be gutted they conceded a late enough goal. Don't get carried away is the message from him. Can somebody let Jamie O'Hara know?
I think you're somewhere. I'd rather play Man United in the final than Bilbao. Is that Bilbao? Playing away from home in the final, forget Bilbao. I'd rather play Man United.
Man United have just been in Bilbao, they beat Bilbao.
Yeah, I know. They got down to 10 men. Do you know what I mean? It's a different game after the sending off. You know, so that's a big old task for Bilbao after that. You know, playing against a Man United side who are decent in Europe. They are, but I'd much rather play Man United. We've beaten 3 times this season. Overrun them in midfield. We get them in the final, mate, we're winning. I'm telling you now, we beat Bodo Bill. We get Man United in the final.
I hope this guy is just clips.
Spurs are back.
I hope this is clips. Please,
I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now.
Go on, say it.
No.
Go on.
Spurs are going to win the Europa League. Spurs are going to win the Europa League, mate. I'm telling you.
Jamie O'Hara. Never on the fence, that's why we love him. From more than this, Abby Summers, Spurs content creator, is with myself and you. Abby, you're buzzing.
Jamie does not believe that. Jamie does not believe that he can wholeheartedly say that Spurs are going to win this. That he just can't believe that.
Man United 3 times in all competitions.
I know, and this isn't just not to start off being negative, but anyone that knows Spurs knows that if Spurs have beat United 3 times this season, the one time it will matter the most, they just won't do it. So I see the logic of actually preferring to have Bilbao, as strange as that seems, because obviously they've been in those.
I'll be positive then, right?
Go on then.
With the best team on the pitch,
Yeah.
and that forward line. By the way, how many goals has Brennan Johnson got?
I think it's 17.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
You got Son, Kulicheski, Richarlison.
Yeah.
Who's the other centre forward? Played for England. What's his name?
Solanke.
Solanke. Right, if they get the best team on the pitch, Spurs, they can beat anyone.
I agree with you on their day. It's just about being consistent and actually doing that and getting over the line. I think we have a lot of PTSD as Spurs fans because when you've lost 19 times and this is going to exceed 20 plus for the rest of the season, it obviously just doesn't make you feel that confident. But in Europe, we've actually been very good.
Bilbao is the host for the final as well, so surely, considering Manchester United done a very good job on them last night, but you would rather Manchester United?
It's just the Spursy thing. The Spursy thing would be to not beat them in a game that actually matters, even though you have beat them 3 times this season. Plus, again, it's an all-English final, so I just think it's the nerves of having United to having Bilbao. Okay, if you don't win, you know, obviously you want to win the competition, but having United, where it's again like we've both had the worst seasons ever. And you know, United have been in finals with recent years. Spurs haven't, and I feel like United probably have a bit more of a mentality to get over the line in those situations than Tottenham do.
Do you think you're jumping the gun slightly talking about the All-English final because Bodo Glimt at home have an unbelievable reputation,
Absolutely.
and that pitch, that plastic pitch. Yeah, I would be more concerned for having Glimt at home in the second leg than I would be worrying about final.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not booking my flights. I'm absolutely not booking the flights until full-time on Thursday.
How are they allowed to use that pitch, by the way, in such a big competition?
It's the weather conditions,
Yeah, it's
though,
the
is
weather.
that they kind of need.
They're in that Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had, things go against you on the night. Bilbao, if Man United played them again tomorrow, would you back Man United? Because things just fall, the pack of cards, red card, missed chances early on. And the game went out, the worst, they never turned up, by the way, Bilbao. I know they had a man off, but they just didn't turn up. And Man United took the chances. So if they played them again tomorrow, I know what Jamie's trying to say. He'd rather face Man United than Bilbao. But Spurs on their day can beat anybody.
Yeah,
Same thing.
it's just on the day is just not often enough. But I don't want to sound like a downer because actually this is the one time I can be positive. We actually did get a good result last night. And I have to say the atmosphere was really good. Take note of other North London clubs on how to do a TIFO because it was lovely. It was very nicely done.
He scored after 40 seconds.
Yeah, and that obviously helped in terms of setting the crowd, in terms of getting that confidence. The only negative is obviously conceding that goal. If you go into it 3-0 and you're going to Norway, and it is a tough place to go. Look at who they've beaten this season as well across the competition, Bodo. So it's even though they're minnows in comparison to the size of the club of Spurs, it's you're giving them half a chance with just getting that goal. Yeah, it suits them. And you know the crowd will obviously be absolutely up for it next week, and I just hope Spurs have got enough.
I'll give you a similar example. Aston Villa Tranmere semi-final of the League Cup with 3-0 down at Tranmere, and they had a chance to make it 4-0, missed, and Daly and Atkinson scored in the last minute 3-1, and we come off the pitch thinking we've only got to win 2-0, goes to extra time, and we scored 2 in the first 5 minutes, and it ended up going to extra time. We beat them on pens. So that goal that you're on about changed it. We went from having to score 4. That we could beat them 2-0, get into extra time, and then beat them on pens, and we did.
Can you just break down what it's like briefly, Dean, to play on a pitch like that, to go away? Like, how much of an impact would that have on the Spurs side, playing in the plastic pitch next
It's
to
a leveller because, I mean, when I was at Newcastle, I had a list of 23 players who refused to train on it. So if ever snowed in Newcastle or the pitch was frozen, Alan Shearer, Michael Owen, not Clive, no way are they training on 3G because there's vertical give in it. You know, it's like how soft this pitch. You know, it's like not like they used to be, but there's no lateral give. So there's no stud marks, slide marks. Your feet. So when you stop, it's your muscles that stop you. You don't get a slide. So if you play on different surfaces every day, you can get injured easy. So and it's a leveller. The ball bounces a certain way. They get used to it. You know, years ago, the ball at Luton, for example, the ball would bounce over your head, and now they're a bit softer.
Yeah.
I don't like them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players will struggle, I think, going away to these different conditions. Abby, you might have changed your mind. I heard you having it out with Ali McCoist last week on if Ange wins the trophy. Dino mentioned with the squad that you've got, there's a possibility that you could challenge for, say, Champions League football with this squad next season, more time under Ange, playing the way that he wants to play, players getting used to it, adjusting, getting injuries back, whatever like that. Do you not think if you were to win this trophy, it's worth sticking with it?
No, I still don't. I think where I was Ange for such a long time, and I kind of taken into consideration the injuries that we had at the last season, from after the first 10 games, this season, how all the players, when they've come back after those injuries, how they've then adapted, and the results have not picked up across both sides. I know last year we obviously did finish 5th. This year it is unacceptable. You can't lose the amount of games that Spurs have lost. And even if he does win the trophy, I understand the sentiment that, okay, well, maybe you change your mind and it'll be a bit more like United were with Ten Hag. But if you actually have a look at that, that wasn't the right decision. They should have said thank you and let Ten Hag go. And I feel that that's the same situation with Ange. Of course, if he wins something, there will be a little bit of a softening of the fan base. But the fan base in general, from what I see and from people I know, is very much... They've wanted Ange to go because they don't believe that his style of football and the intensity and the level of that is something that can be implemented over a 38-game season. And as much as I want that to work, I don't think it can be either.
Instead of sacking the manager, you need to sack the medical staff.
Yeah, there's a list.
There's a busload of them.
Yeah, but Ange wants them to play a certain way. The players need to adjust to that.
You get injuries occur when you put tiredness on top of tiredness, on top of tiredness. 2 weeks later, you pull your hamstring. But the injuries happened 2 weeks before. So the medical staff and the sports scientists, they need to have a look at themselves, because you can get sacked on injuries like he might do.
But I also think it's being a bit, if and when he does get sacked, it's not just on the fact there's been lots of injuries, it's also on the fact that he doesn't adapt the style of play hardly ever. There's only a few games I can think of that he's actually adapted, Frankfurt being one, where they've been a little bit more tactically and defensively astute. If you can't always adapt, the Premier League is a different animal to a cup competition.
It's a different beast, that's for sure. But for now, it looks like an all-English final. For now, it does. Abby Summers, Spurs content creator, thanks so much. We'll see you again soon. Don't forget, we've got the second legs next week for you in TalkSport. Man United against Athletic Bilbao, and then Bodo Glimt against Tottenham is in TalkSport 2.
TalkSport breakfast. We'll keep you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.
obviously for lead scoring, we create brand new tags for these, so they'll have to do that. And we'll need, obviously, all the tag details. We can do the work to, add in the skills into the objects, into our configs in advance. We're just going.
Is there any sort of using a property business word? Is there any synergy between the tasks that we need to do for this solution and the more long term? Like, is there a way that we can approach this which sets us up for that strategic suite? Is there a way that we can approach this which sets us up for that strategic suite?